All right, West Virginia fans, the BYU game is almost here. West Virginia goes on the road to take on the BYU Cougars on Friday. In this video, we're going to break down the game, break down the BYU Cougars, and let you know what they have to offer. We'll also break down the recent Nicco Marchiol news that dropped today. Before we do that, if you're a West Virginia fan, please remember to like and subscribe to JerseyEER. Recently we've had a lot of people jumping in the comments, a lot of people liking and subscribing, so we really appreciate the support. With that being said, let's get into the video. So let's start off with the breaking news that broke today about West Virginia quarterback Nicco Marchiol. It looks like he's going to be West Virginia former quarterback now. So the news broke today that he was expected to medically redshirt, and then soon after that, it came out that he plans to enter the transfer portal. A lot of people saw this coming. This was speculated for the last week or so whenever we heard the news that he was in Arizona and also Colorado. So his time as a West Virginia Mountaineer seems to be over. He's been getting a lot of praise and a lot of appreciation from the West Virginia fan base, especially because his last game that he's going to be remembered for at West Virginia is going to be that Pitt game. So he's a guy that has stepped in during times where we needed a spark because Garrett Green was out, and he held the team together and found ways to win games. So people will appreciate him for that. So he'll have good memories as a West Virginia quarterback, but I think there will also be a little bit of disappointment only because he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. And a lot of people thought he was the quarterback of the future and was going to be the next quarterback to put West Virginia back on the map. So ultimately, he did some nice things in a West Virginia uniform, but he never really hit his potential. And I think that's a lot of people's opinions are going to be that 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So again, a respectable career, but nowhere near the potential that we saw him come out of high school. It will be interesting to see what Nicco does moving forward with the rest of his college career, especially if he gets 2 years of eligibility. Where is he going to land is the first question, right? Is it going to be a power 4? Is it going to be a group of 5? That's going to be interesting. And then it's going to just be interesting to see how he performs on the field, if he can win a starting job, and what he does with the next opportunity that he has. It always seemed like West Virginia was always looking for a little bit of a different style quarterback with how Rich Rodriguez likes the running quarterbacks. Nicco just didn't seem comfortable with running the offense as much as he wanted to, and that could have been for a variety of reasons with the offensive line play, banged up skill position players. So it just didn't seem to work this year. I know a lot of people want to wish him well. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see what Rich Rodriguez thinks of this, if he addresses this or if he just kind of moves on. Didn't seem like he was too thrilled when he was reporting on the news. That's kind of the vibe I got from it. And the other question is, and we'll never know this probably, but how does this affect like the NIL situation, right? Because he is a starting quarterback, or he was, and it's just all confusing right now how they allot that money. How does it work with injuries? We may never know those questions, but I think it's something that I think about as we are in this new college football landscape. But like I said, Nicco Marchiol seems to be done with the West Virginia Mountaineers for the time. Let's get into the actual game that's going to be taking place on Friday. So 10:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN. West Virginia is a major underdog, looking at a 19.5-point spread for that one. Maybe it's a game that you guys go watch your local high school football team come back and then watch the Mountaineers, or maybe you go take a nap or get an extra cup of coffee because it's going to be a late kick for West Virginia. So they have a lot of things working against them in this one. Obviously won the late kick with the body clock and things like that. Traveling on a short week. Haven't had a bye yet. We have a lot of questions with injuries that we're going to get into. So just a really tough spot for West Virginia. And you can see the team statistics there and how the teams match up. Let's talk about the series history. So West Virginia is 2-0 all time versus BYU. If you go back to the first game, it was actually at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. West Virginia won a tight one, 35-32. BYU and West Virginia both had really talented teams that year. Rasul Douglas made a huge pick 6 in that game. Russell Shell had a big game. And West Virginia was a really good team that year. They went to 4-0 in that game. They beat Kansas State the week after. and ended up having a 10-win season. So it was a really good, successful West Virginia team, and that was a great game in Landover, Maryland when we played BYU about 9 years ago. And then 2 years ago, West Virginia steamrolled them 37-7. It was BYU's first year in the Big 12, and it was Neil Brown's best team. It was a team that won 9 games, and West Virginia was rolling offensively, and it was a good showing for West Virginia. The roles are going to be a little bit reversed in this one. I think obviously it's safe to say that this is not one of West Virginia's better teams, and BYU has a lot of momentum riding them, and we're going to get into the teams in a second. But overall, the only good part is West Virginia has the history, but those are two really talented football teams that beat BYU the last times that we played. All right, let's get into the season so far. Let's get into West Virginia first. Kind of an up and down season, mostly down though. You started off with the Robert Morris win, 45-3. You lost to Ohio, which was extremely disappointing. A lot of fans were wondering if that was just a one-off, because then the next week we have a huge comeback victory over Pitt, which was awesome. But then after that, since starting league play, we've really come back down to earth, and we have major questions and concerns about this team. We lost 41-10 at Kansas, and then we got boat raced last week by Utah 48-14. So right now, there's a lot of concern surrounding the West Virginia program. Then you flip over to BYU, who's on the opposite end, right? They beat Portland State 69-0. They took care of Stanford 27-3. They beat East Carolina 34-13, and then they beat Colorado 24-21. Last week, they got off to a slow start versus Colorado, but ended up winning the game. You can just see here from BYU, they do not give up many points defensively at all. So that's going to be a really big challenge, especially with West Virginia and where they're at currently offensively and with all the injuries. So keep an eye on that. But right now, like I said, it's the opposite. The two teams are feeling opposites, right? West Virginia is feeling kind of down, and our fan base kind of doesn't know what to make of the season, where BYU is probably thinking, hey, this might be a chance for us to climb the Big 12 and make a run at the Big 12 championship. So both these teams in different spots as we meet on Friday. Availability report is out. Just know this, that West Virginia is really banged up, right? You can see it here. Jaheim White out, Jaden Bray out, Nicco Marchiol obviously out. And then the questionable ones are the important ones, right? Ty Edwards, it's going to be important to see if we can get him back on the field. Warren Singleton, Max Brown, Jalen Henderson, and Chemo. So a lot of questions surrounding West Virginia and the injury report. I'm recording this on Wednesday afternoon. There'll be another one out later, so this is going to update. So make sure that you check social media for that. But this is the one that was reported on Tuesday night. But that's where we stand with the initial injury report. Let's talk about the West Virginia offense. And I put here more questions than answers. And unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at. We don't really know yet who's starting quarterback as the time has recorded, as the time during this video to record. We don't know who the quarterback is at this point. A lot of people think it might be Wilkins or Jalen Henderson, depending on his health. The next question is, can healthy running backs spark this offense? The best this offense has looked this season was probably against Pitt in the fourth quarter, because we could run the ball. Ty Edwards was a huge boost to that team. We've only seen Ty Edwards in really one game this season. If he returns, can he help the offense out enough that we can compete on offense to make some noise in this game? Sincere Bowers, we've seen flashes, but we haven't seen it fully come forward yet with him yet. Dior Hubbard showed flashes last week. So can a group of healthy running backs help this team move the ball offensively? If a Rich Rodriguez offense is going to make noise, they have to run the ball, they have to get first downs, and they have to move the chains. So the running backs being healthy, if they are, can they help this team who desperately needs some answers offensively? We've talked about this kind of all season. Who steps up as wide receiver 2? We know Cam Vaughn is wide receiver 1. He's proven that. He's been consistent. We know that. The next part is, who's going to be that number 2 target? Is it someone like Grayson Barnes? Is it Rodney Gallagher? Is it Preston Fox? Justin Smith-Brown? We kind of have to figure out other answers in this offense besides Cam Vaughn. And then the other thing is, do we see more playing time for other O-linemen? Last week, we saw different O-linemen get some play and get some reps, and they did some decent things. Does that happen more often for this group? They have really struggled. So we're going to have to see this game and then especially going into the bye week. So, like I said, I think right now, unfortunately for West Virginia, we have more questions than answers offensively. Hopefully, over this week and the next few weeks, we can get these questions answered so we can move forward and find the future of this team and salvage some part of the season. Because right now, the way we're playing offensively, it's not looking too good. And then defensively, where we're at defensively, it's which defense shows up, right? In the first 3 games, we looked awesome. Zach Alley was getting so much praise. We felt really confident. We felt that this defense could keep us into every game that we played, no matter how bad the offense was. Then the last 2 Big 12 games happened, and let's face it, they were kind of below average, right? In the first 3 games, we were sacking the quarterback like crazy. After the Pitt game, we were ranked number 2 in the nation in sacks. We were causing turnovers, and this unit looked fast. This unit looked like they can compete in the Big 12. The last 2 games, the sacks haven't been coming as quickly. We haven't been turning teams over as much, and the tackling has been really, really poor. So, which defense shows up? And the next question is, which Jamori Robinson shows up, right? So Jamori Robinson has played 2 games now, had a limited number of snaps in the first game, but I think he played more last week, but hasn't registered really any stats yet. So I know when we talked about him in the offseason, it's someone that we hyped up consistently and we talked about a lot, and he was the biggest portal addition to the team that we thought. So, it's time for him to make some noise and for him to make an impact on this team. We desperately need players, and it's go time for him in a West Virginia uniform. So, which defensive unit shows up on Friday? That's going to be a major question that needs to get answered too for West Virginia. So, like I said, a lot of questions surrounding this football team. BYU doesn't have as many questions. BYU has their solidified guys that have been making some noise. Freshman quarterback Bear Bachenmeyer has been really solid this season. 6 touchdowns thrown, no interceptions. He's also rushed for 4 touchdowns, 697 yards passing. This kid continues to get better. He seems like the quarterback for the future and for right now for BYU. They really like him out there. So they have that question answered on their side. Their leading rusher is LJ Martin, a guy that will just come get north and south right away. Not much of an east and west guy. He just seems like a guy that puts his foot down and goes straight. So he's a really talented back. I like this. I like what he looked like on film. Chase Roberts has some nice stats: 16 catches, 234 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he's a highly rated player for BYU that they're going to try to get the ball to. And then also their offensive playmakers. Tight end Carson Ryan, 12 catches, 192 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Parker Kingston, 14 catches, 105 yards on the season. So that's kind of BYU where they're going to come at you offensively. And then their defensive playmakers, they have a few. So Jack Kelly, they actually call him Sack Kelly. 15 solo tackles, 4 sacks on the season, and a forced fumble. So last week, Utah had a very good player that West Virginia had to keep in check, and now they're going to have another one here with Jack Kelly. Isaiah Glasker is a really talented player, 12 solo tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and interception. So he can beat you in a variety of ways and makes plays in a lot of ways. And then Evan Johnson has 2 interceptions, a pass deflection, and 11 solos this year. So those are kind of the playmakers that BYU has on their defense at the different levels. So the last thing is I usually do like 5 keys to the game. And I'm usually like, all right, if West Virginia does these 5 things, then they can hang in this game. They can possibly win. I think I need to get back to the basics. With what I've seen from West Virginia over the last 2 weeks is we just need to get back to the basics. And all I want to see at this point is for us to compete, right? We're a 19.5 point underdog. Our quarterback's out for the season. We have 2 other ones that are questionable. We're down to like our second and third and fourth running backs. It's been a little bit of a mess this year, right? But West Virginia fans, we see ourselves as tough. We see ourselves as the blue collar people that want to rise up and beat all odds. Well, the odds are against us here. So, this could be a game that could possibly spark Rich Rodriguez and the future of the program. even with all of the injuries and all of the things that have happened this season, can this team rally together and at least compete? If you can compete with these guys, maybe you find a way to win the game. Maybe you give yourself the best shot in the fourth quarter to try to get a win. But if you go out there like you did against Kansas and Utah, and in the first half lay down or just don't compete and you have wrong assignments and the mistakes add up, it's just going to leave a really sour taste in your mouth going into the bye week. We need some sort of silver lining going into the bye week, or it's going to be a long 2 weeks. And who knows, maybe you rally together and you win the game, right? If you win the game, then you finish the first half of the season 3-3, which in all reality, all things considered, isn't bad at all. So maybe you go out, compete, you find a way to win, and maybe this thing takes off, right? But in order to get there, we need to just compete first. We just have to go out, compete, make it a close game, score some points, cause some turnovers, make us excited. We're all going to stay up and watch this team, right? We're going to be up until 2:00 in the morning watching this game. Give us something to cheer about. Give us something to be excited about. Go out there and compete. We brought in 81 new players in the transfer portal. All of these guys are here for a reason. They're here because they can play football. They have a chip on their shoulder. A lot of them are coming up from Group of 5. They still have things to go out and attain and show people. So go out there, compete, give it your all, try to get a win, but no 5 keys this week. One word. Just go out there, compete, hard edge, whatever you want to say. We just have to see better from West Virginia than what we've seen the last few weeks. That's all I got. It was about a 17-minute video. Like I said, I really appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoy the game. Try to stay up for Friday. We'll talk to you guys next time.